This is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
And good morning. This is Anne from San Clemente, California, and today we are discussing replacing the par can, lighting through tension grids, shopping for lights at Home Depot, and will actors eventually become holograms?
Woo! And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood in Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers and Sister!
Hooray!
Yay! Well, welcome everyone to episode 151. As you can hear in the background, we are welcoming back our dear Lumen sister, Ann McMills. Thank you, Ann. Boy, we missed you. What have you been up to, by the way? It's been it's been since LDI, right? That was the last time we saw you. Oh my God, that's November.
Yeah, my microphone was still packed up. Isn't that crazy?
Inside your shot glass or something like that.
Right. No, those made it to work, but yeah.
You have the shot glass at work. Very good.
No, I took the mug. I didn't take the shot glass. I thought one was good.
What was it like today? Did your heart start beating a little faster? Did your palms get sweaty as you started setting up the microphone in anticipation of reaching out to the entire lighting world?
You know, I am kind of a nervous person, so I do get a little nervous. It's true.
No,
every
you don't
time.
Get nervous. No.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And this is actually the first time I've done a show with you in a long time because I wasn't at LDI. So I'm a Twitter with excitement.
Twitter, I love it.
I'm a Twitter.
I'm a Facebook with excitement.
You're still recruiting students, right?
Still recruiting, yes. It's going well. I'm super excited. I can't wait for our incoming for next year. And yeah, we'll see how it all ends up.
That's just great. So I miss you guys. I miss doing the Chicago thing.
I know. We miss you
really
at Urta so much.
Maybe I'll come just to hang out next year.
You should. It's not the same.
Actually, I'll be during that time, I'll be in a colder place.
Ooh.
Helsinki.
Oh,
yes.
I didn't know it got colder.
Oh, yeah. I mean, up until this point, Chicago's the coldest place I've ever been to, but I think Helsinki's going to beat it. So anyway, Let's get started. We have a big show today, and Steve has our first listener question.
Yes, it comes all the way from Israel, and it is Sarah. And Sarah says, why do some women in tech take on male names to fit in? Well, Sarah, you came to the right place. Old white guy is going to tell you all about this. I'm going to give you a brief opinion, and then I'm going to punt this over to the person who might have the answer, which is Ann McMills. But let me tell you what I think. This idea of women taking on male names, I have to say, I have not bumped into that. I have met women who are stagehands who go by their last name. I know a sound designer who's quite good, who goes by Slim, but I haven't bumped into anyone who actually takes on a male name. There's a couple possibilities in this, but what I think is women have been overlooked and underrated in the stagehand world for a long time. And I think the easy answer is they're trying to look for some way to be accepted by their male counterparts. And it's sad that their male counterparts refuse to accept them as who they are. So if they have a feminine name, I guess that's the person you're going to ask for a date. And if she goes by a male name, then she's just one of the guys. I don't know. Ann, can you help me out on this question a bit?
Can I? You two should sit down.
Yes. She's saying, what a bunch of dolts I'm with today. Two old white guys, right? They have no clue. No, that's what you're thinking way in the back of your mind. It's okay. We can accept it. We are self-aware of who we are. So go, Ann.
I just, this is something I'm sure this is why you had me on the show today, because this is something I'm passionate about. I just feel, ladies, that we are setting feminism backwards by doing this. And I know a scenic designer who goes by a middle or a first initial. I know a lighting designer who has a nickname. I ran into a sound designer at Urta that, what did she do? I can't remember. Either no first name or middle first initial or something like that. And the whole name of the game they're trying to do is like get their resume out there in some sort of form that doesn't show that they're women in order to get the job and then like go in and impress people. I hear you, but I think it's backwards. And I think, like, what are we, the Bronte sisters? Like, what wasn't that done like in 18 something or other? So 1846, I just looked it up. They published under men's pseudonyms. So yeah, I think it's a wrong move for feminism to try to do that. I think you should, I've never changed my name, and Anne is a very woman's name. You can tell right away. And I think I've had a fine career. And I can think of some other people. I could think of Jean Rosenthal and Jennifer Tipton and Natasha Katz and Peggy Eisenhower and Beverly Emmons and Jane Cox and Peggy Clark and Jen Shriver, like all these people that have never changed their female names, and they've done just fine, I think. Just fine's an understatement.
Paulie Constable.
Yeah, which is a little,
Paul's a male name, but Paulie's
know.
a female's name. Maybe.
British.
But, British, Paulie. Yeah,
Pat Collins is sort of Theron Musser, Arden Fingerhut. Like, there were women with names that you might have not been able to tell, but there's a long list of Broadway designers that have used their female names. So I just feel like it's not the way to go. And usually I try to be sort of neutral on this show, but I'm going to be opinionated on this. I think it's not the way to go because I feel like it's setting feminism back. So I don't think we should do it. And ladies, I suggest that you be proud of who you are, go out there and kick butt and show them that it doesn't matter what gender you are.
I read a little blurb once. I thought it was interesting. When Star Trek first came on the air, Gene Roddenberry, his principal writer, was a woman. And the network said, no, she's not going to write this show. And she then changed the name on her contract. So she used her initials, D.C. Fontana. And no one understood who she was except Gene Roddenberry and herself. And she wrote amazing episodes, and the network was going, see what a man can do? But
it's disgusting.
An amazing writer.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't need to be back there. That's like the Dark Ages.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I agree totally with Anne. I think this is like, now, okay, some people like that name, and that's okay. If you have a name and it happens to be a male name, go by it. Go by whatever name you want. But it's why you change it. That's what it is all about.
Exactly.
Because I'm sure Paulie did say, well, some people may think I'm a guy. No. Paulie stands up on her own, as long as all these other great women designers that Anne listed. So be who you are. Do not compromise, certainly, to anyone who has backwards thoughts. And also keep your integrity. It's funny because yesterday in my design class, I teach an advanced undergraduate design class. We were talking about this. We were talking about making it into business. And the one point I made really clear to all these young students, male and female, is that you keep your integrity. You keep your integrity through all this. Don't do anything that you're going to lose your self-respect for. And you just continue, because there are a lot of good people in this business. I would say the vast majority of the people in our business are really good moral people, but there are a few, like almost in any other business, that are complete assholes, right? And are on power trips or whatever. The Harvey Weinsteins. These people, and even someone who's half of an asshole, as Harvey Weinstein, is still an asshole. So you have to watch out for these people, and no job is worth it. Be who you are, because those are the directors you want to work with. Okay, you want to work with people who respect you and hire you for who you are, right? Not what you are.
I agree. And I would further say, like, the contrary argument I get back from women that do this say, like, well, I went for the job and I didn't get it because they were looking for a man. And so my answer is, so that wasn't the right job for you. Like, go for a different job. Like my personal experience, like in high school, I wasn't allowed to do lighting because girls didn't do lighting. And so it sounds like I was in the 50s, but I wasn't. And I ended up doing community theater and to get around that. And so I ended up having a huge career that other people didn't. It's like, just find the way in. You don't want to work for somebody who won't hire you because of your gender.
Elizabeth Warren tells this amazing story. And, I'm non-political right now. I'm just telling you a story that Elizabeth Warren said. By the way, I dreamt about Elizabeth Warren the other night, and it was weird. It was it was not. It was weird. She was in my backyard. I kept on telling her, it's dark out there. Don't step into dog shit. And I'm not kidding you. And
wow, that's profound, isn't it?
Exactly. And I went in the house and I grabbed my flashlight to show her where the dog shit was, and then she was gone. So she was like a ghost of Elizabeth Warren. It was very odd. But yeah, I had a dream. But anyway, Elizabeth Warren tells a story about one of her first jobs. And she said that she was very young. I think she was like 21. And she was visibly pregnant. And she loved this job. And her boss said, obviously, we're not going to be able to keep you, and fires her. Ugh. Right? Basically fires her and replaces her. And, at the time, She was a young woman, and she said, okay, I guess that's the way the world is. But she came back, obviously, and look at where she is now.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important lesson for all people, not just women, but, people who feel that they may be discriminated against because of who they are.
Race or
gender. What they are, right. Race, gender, sexual preference, who knows. So you got to keep that dignity. I think that's really, really super important. All right. James from Canada asks, I am the technical and lighting director for a ballet company. Almost every show we do seems to require anywhere from 10 to 100 par cans. With par bulbs going the way of the dodo, I am having a hard time recommending a viable alternative to designers. I am aware of the ETC Source 4 pars. Are there any other viable alternatives, either tungsten or LED source? I know nothing quite looks like a par can. I'm just hoping to find the best alternatives available. Well, James, you're right. The par can is going the way of the dodo. I think that they've stopped even manufacturing the lamps. I agree. The par is probably some of the most beautiful quality of light out there, especially the tungsten halogen ones. You just can't beat it. Now, yeah, there are alternatives, and most of them are LED now. Now, it's interesting because I don't talk a lot about VariLite equipment a lot, but the other day, VariLite had an event here in LA where they were showing us their new theatrical line of fixtures. That's right. VariLite is actually coming out with a theatrical line of fixtures.
Yay.
Of course, yeah, and they're called VariLites. They're not like Philips. They're like VLs.
Nice.
And the one series that they are just releasing now that I was very, very impressed with was the VL800 series. Have you guys seen these, Steve or Ann? Yeah, yes. Steve has, because he's there at VariLite, of course. And they had several models. One was called the Event Wash. Another one was called the Pro Par. The Pro Par comes, well, actually, there's the Pro Par, which is a warm white, 3,500 lumens, and it has a zoom in it, 9 to 40 degree zoom. Then they have the Event Par, the VL800 Event Par, which is the same, similar to the Pro Par, but it's RGB, so you can mix colors. And then they have this great little moving light. It's like it's still in this series, but it's an actual moving light, and it's called the Event Wash, the VL800 Event Wash. And I tested all three of these lights in their studio, and I was very, very, very impressed. The color rendering is excellent on skin. I went out there, I looked at it, I put people in there. They looked fantastic. So I think they've got a hit with these lights. I really do. And you should be able to see them very soon. So I would highly recommend looking at them. And just about every other manufacturer has some type of a par replacement wash light. How about you guys? Have you seen viable alternatives?
It's funny because, David, just this morning, I was literally at a design meeting at 7:30 a.m. this morning at a theme park. And when I was there, somebody said, have you seen the new VL Par Wash? It's incredible. And I hadn't. So there we go.
Well, I'm just in the process of purchasing 16 of the movers. And those are going into my balcony rail position. And they're going into any place where I've got to have a lot of punch. Yep. But a very small fixture.
Yeah, very small.
But getting back to the par thing, there's another light that VL makes that I bought that I really like. I'm using it in a symphonic hall, and that is the SL. Well, now I'll take that back. That is the VL Punch Light 220, and that is an amazing light. It's RBG. It has an 8 to 40 degree zoom range on it. I'm using it in an auditorium with probably a 40-foot throw. It's on overhead electrics coming down onto the orchestra. It's 3,500 lumens. It's fantastic. It's dead quiet. I just can't say enough about it.
And that's made by VariLite too? Yes,
it's the Punchlight 220. But I think if you're looking for a replacement wash light in your theater, I'm going to say get this Punchlight 220, or as David is suggesting, take a look at that VL800 event par. I tested that, and that's pretty fantastic.
Great. Well, I'm writing that all down because I'm also looking for this kind of thing. So I appreciate both of you.
Well, the thing on that event par, I don't know if you mentioned it, it's also IP24 rated.
That's true.
So you can put that outside. Also, the VL220, that is, I think, IP65 rated. So theme parks, outdoor dramas, any place you need a light outside, both of these are going to work for you, work quite nicely.
Great. Well, Anne has our next question.
All right. Matt in Detroit writes, we are building a new theater with a tension grid. What type of lights should we order? I heard that there may be problems with LED sources going through the grid. Is this true or is it a rumor?
Ooh, rumor. Let's spread some rumors.
Well, I'm really happy that you've saved all of the questions for me, guys, that I need to answer because... I have been researching this like seriously for the last several weeks very intensely because we at San Diego State, we're building a new theater and we want a tension grid. And so the theatrical consultant said to me, he said, well, you know, because I also want to go all LED. And he said, well, you shouldn't go LED because that causes LED fixtures cause more chromatic aberration with the tension grid. And I said, really? I hadn't heard that at all. And so I started doing research and I called everybody I knew and then I did a big Facebook poll of a bunch of really great designers wrote back. And a lot of people said no problems at all. And then a couple of people said, yeah, there are some problems. And so I went and I toured a couple of tension grids and things like that. And so then we did some mock-ups at school. This was just a few days ago. And sure enough, all kinds of chromatic aberration. We tested a D40, we tested a source for conventional, we tested a source for LED luster, and we tested a color source par. And it was extremely disappointing.
Wow. Yeah. Good thing you did that.
Yeah.
I think you need to jump in there and take a look at the Strand products. I went through the same thing, and
did you?
I found the same results with the ETC product line.
Yeah, it depended on the fixture because like the source for conventional, it wasn't that much of a problem. The D40 was pretty bad. And then the color source par was better. I was kind of surprised because that's like homogenized, but still in several different cells, because a lot of people were saying, well, homogenized is better. But it's not necessarily true because the Series 2 luster was actually the worst. And that's the light I want the most. So we looked at it a lot. It does depend on how close they are to the grid. So we tried moving the grid in and out. So I think one of the keys is having adjustable pipes above your tension grid. When they're all on in a wash, it's okay. But when you see it like as a singular fixture, it's pretty bad.
Oh, that's not good. So what are you guys going to do? What are you going to do? I mean,
we're going to go for it. We think the tension grid, like the safety for the students outweighs this issue. And who knows what it'll be in 5 or 10 years. Until then, we're going to ask for the adjustable pipes. I'm going to look at, I don't know if they make VETs anymore, vertical extension tubes. I think that was a City Theatrical product. So I want to look for that because you could like lower par fixtures to match the height of a Lico, that kind of thing. Somebody suggested using what they called the Skittles filter in the Series 2, which is
I know that filter.
You know that
I've
thing?
Used that
yeah. It like goes in the template holder. which is actually called a soft focus diffuser. So you put that at the gate. So that's something I'm ordering so we can try that. Somebody else suggested OptiSculpt, which is a Roscoe product, using a 10-degree OptiSculpt. So I tried that. It makes it extremely soft, which I prefer like the 132 look, but it's very soft, but it did get rid of the aberration. So I thought, well, we could consider that. Gobos are a mess anyways, but you want texture anyways, so maybe it's okay. I don't know. And then,
have you tried the Martin line also?
No, I just had what we have at school. And then the last thing I tried, I'm going to try, is called the Smooth Wash Diffuser, which goes in the gel frame of a Source 4 LED. So I'm going to try that as well. So, but no, that's a good idea, Steve. I should call some other companies and see if they'll let us borrow something.
Oh, I mean, if you're going to do it, you're investing a ton of money. I mean, I can't imagine that the other manufacturers aren't going to want your business, and they're not going to just put something in the mail or come and see you directly. Again, I'm saying I had the same problem, and I looked at a couple different manufacturers. I was looking even at some clay packy fixtures. That wasn't working, but I found, I found a strand fixture that would work. I wanted a Source 4 fixture, absolutely would not work in the tension grid. Doesn't mean it's a bad fixture. It worked in the proscenium house where the tension grid clearly not there. But I think there's some good equipment out there right now that will solve this problem. And I think the adjustable grid is not as scary as you might be considering it. Our grid in the Greer-Garson is a tension grid with we found what we believe to be the optimum position for the pipes with LEDs. And once we locked them in, I don't think we've changed them in 3 years.
Oh, okay.
It's just been, I don't have to raise it or lower it. Once it works, it works.
That's nice.
And you're saying yourself, you're getting rid of tungsten incandescent.
Yeah.
So once you lock in those LEDs, you're going to find the sweet spot for them and never have to look back.
Although, did you find that like you had one height for like a par fixture or wash fixture and one height for like a Lico or a profile?
All of our Licos are the same height. And I've got the Licos are set so that when I'm vertical and I have a top hat on it, the top hat's about an inch away from the wire mesh.
Okay.
We have not had a problem with the wash LEDs, but like you say, there is a little drop arm. It comes in, I think it's 6 inches, a foot, and 18 inches. City Theatrical makes it. It's just a vertical extension, screws right on. So if you had to do that, there's clearly a product is made that allows you to easily adapt if you need to get close to the grid.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought. Get a bunch of sizes of that too.
I'm finding as you did, the closer to the grid, the better off you are.
Yeah, it is, which I thought was counterintuitive in my brain. I thought it was going to be the opposite, but it worked better. Although some people in my research said that sometimes they've got like a par fixture like almost sitting on the grid, and other times it's like 5 feet in the air. So people have had different experiences. I've
never tried the 5 foot position because I don't really have 5 feet of usable space to hang the light from. That'd be interesting, though. I can easily go in my grid and hold a light at 5 feet and see what happens.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go test that out.
Send me a picture.
Well, my other problem too is when the engineer designed the grid, he had never done a theater before. So he put the grid iron in 4 foot squares. So I mean, you learn how to section if you come to SMU.
Yeah, I bet.
As Steve can attest, I was at SMU when this theater was designed, and they would not listen to me or Bill Eckhart about anything about this theater. They didn't even ask us to consult. It was really ridiculous. And the day they were going to put the grid up, the support members that go from the bottom of the grid to the ceiling was basically the thickness of rebar, which would have made it impossible to hang any lights in it because you wouldn't have been able to hang another pipe to this rebar.
Right.
You could spot weld one, I guess.
Yeah,
so
I guess so.
I put a stop
That's
to it.
scary.
And they were actually putting it up that day. And I said, wait a second, you can't do this. So what they ended up doing was taking some regular pipe and put it over the rebar and then weld that pipe to the bottom. And I'm sure Steve can still see those weld points. But
yeah, we've talked about that a lot. And then once I found out what you did, everybody went, that's why they did it.
that's why those spot welds are there.
I spoke to that architect about that 4-foot openings of this grid. And he said, and bless his heart, he was really quite proud. He said, each one of those squares can hold 1,200 pounds.
Perfect.
And I said, well,
how many people?
Why would I want that? Why would I want to hold 1,200 pounds in 4 square feet? And he just kind of looked at me, had those kind of sideways Labrador dog looks, like, what?
Hey, no, Labradors aren't that stupid, Steve. I take offense of a Labrador owner. The Labradors are a lot brighter than doing what they did to that grid and to that theater. Thank God you guys corrected much of that theater, because that was kind of a horrible situation. But anyway, a whole nother story.
All right. You are listening to Light Talk with the Lumen Brothers and me. And Light Talk. And Light Talk is sponsored by
Better Than Nothing Industries. How many times have you waited for that rover to be correctly placed? How many times have you refocused a kicker after that dancer bashed it? How many times have you waited for that assistant to bring you your Roscoe mixbook? Well, those days are gone, my friend. Better Than Nothing Industries, working with iRobot, are proud to introduce the Roomba 2020. Expanding upon the successful robot vacuum cleaner for your house, the Roomba 2020 brings that efficiency to the stage. Now your drover knows where to go. Now that kicker can save itself. Now your mixbook can follow you around the stage just like Daniel the Golden Retriever. Think it can't get any better? The Roomba 2020 can be fitted with a little tray to carry your magic sheet, cup of coffee, and a tasty treat. Just think, now you can focus your show with your trusty Roomba 2020 by your side. Remember that tasty treat? That's right, iRobot will throw in a box of their tasty treats. You can select powdered donuts, ice cream cones, jelly anything, sushi, burritos, crab legs, noodles, a meatball sub, or my favorite, a taco. But wait, we haven't forgotten about you, Bobby Harrell. That's right, we have ribs too. You can leave a messy trail of crumbs and crap that the Roomba 2020 will follow all day. Imagine how happy props will be at the end of the day. No more sweeping the floor. Remember, it may not be perfect, but hey, it's better than nothing.
I think I might be an early investor in this idea.
I think it's a great idea.
I know. Bring me a powdered donut. Go.
Bring me some ribs.
I just saw on Facebook and people ask me why I don't go to Oklahoma. I just saw on Facebook a man attacked his neighbor with a Roomba. He turned his Roomba loose trying to knock down his neighbor's fence.
Oh, no.
That's a powerful Roomba.
And if you had a cat at the theater, it could ride the Roomba around. These are great ideas.
These are great ideas.
I have thought about, Roombas are kind of expensive, but I've seen some on eBay that are clearly, Roombas on their last wheels. I've thought about getting a Roomba for my cat. I just don't know if she would ride it, but I think she might.
Yeah, me neither. I've thought about it too.
Well, that's what Crazy Glue's for. Just like, glue that cat's butt right onto that Roomba.
No. We got to be nice to the dogs. Be nice to the cats too.
I don't know about being nice to cats. I owned cats at one point. I love cats. Don't get me wrong. It's just that they're very strange creatures.
They are. That's why they're awesome.
I just want to point out that your cats in Miami saved you from those bugs.
They did, from the palmetto bugs. They did.
Yes, your 3 cats saved you.
My cats would basically jump up in the air 8 feet and catch them while they were in mid-flight.
Whoa,
oh,
that's
my God.
amazing.
Cats are amazing creatures.
Yes, they are. Well, and on that thought, now back to Light Talk.
Well, the sound of those rabid ducks in the background tells us that once again it's time for our infamous segment, Let's Talk About. And today's Let's Talk About segment comes from an email we received from Sylvia from Italy. She writes, I'm a student at the Academy of Fine Arts in Venice. I know that. That's a great school, by the way. I'm currently writing a thesis about active light, starting with Adolf Appiah's theories and exploring new technologies such as 3D projection mapping, holograms, and so on. So I would really like to know, what do you think about the role of these kinds of technologies in the present and future of live entertainment design? Well, it's happening already. We were talking about VR, virtual reality, augmented reality. We were talking about holograms. All this stuff actually has begun with the technology out there. The only problem that we're having right now seems to be price. But it's really inevitable because this generation is being brought up on this technology. So it just makes sense that it would go into live technology. We've seen it already with the Super Bowl shows and the Olympic opening and closing ceremonies. There's a lot of augmented reality there. And we've already seen the beginning of virtual reality and visualization programs, which is something we've talked about on this show a couple of years ago. But that's very, very exciting. What do you guys think? What do you think, Anne?
Well, I'm a huge tech head. I love all this stuff. And but I think it's definitely going there, but I do have qualms with the word hologram in these contexts. Because hologram is usually, everybody thinks of Princess Leia, right? Like the hologram from the 1977 Star Wars.
Boy,
so
you
that's
nailed
what we're
that.
looking
1977.
For.
What was the month? What was the month?
September.
I have no idea, but I'm just impressed that you knew it was 1977.
It was 77. That was my first year of grad school, and I remember seeing that show in Dallas at North Park Cinema. How do you like that for a memory? Okay, go.
So we all picture Princess Leia, and that's like a standalone hologram. There's nothing around her, like it is an image in space, right? But we've come to know holograms now as like the Tupac thing, which is basically, that's an old reference now, like all that stuff you were just talking about, Super Bowl and Madonna and all that. But that's basically Pepper's ghost. So I just wish we would call things by what they are, and I'll be really excited when we get actual holograms. The other thought I have is like the only bummer is like as a lighting designer, you usually have to turn off all the lights to make those things look good.
Right.
So I always feel a little bummed, like, oh, all right. But that's true with projections and stuff too. Like you got to keep a bunch of light off of things in order to make them work. So, but we'll find that sweet spot, and I'm excited about where things will go.
But you could have holographic lights at that point too.
Tell me more.
No, if you have your hologram and you're projecting that, then it seems to me like you could project a holographic beam of light that wouldn't destroy the hologram, but would seem to give the illusion that it is creating the lighting in that hologram.
Interesting. So you're like a lighting designer for the hologram, you mean?
Why not?
I like it.
My question is, would you go see a hologram concert? Would you go see the 1965 Beatles if you could do that?
They're doing it already. They're doing it with, they've had a couple of tours of holograms. They had a Roy Orbison tour last year. It was a hologram tour. And boy, I don't know, man. That gives me nightmares.
If you have nothing better to do with your time, you should look up the worst NFL Super Bowl halftime shows of all time.
I've seen them.
And, and they're kind of what you expect, except for one. And that one is the Justin Timberlake with Prince.
Yeah, okay, Prince.
And they're talking about how bad that is because Prince was very explicit about he did not want his image manipulated after he died. So people saw that as a real insult to his estate and his aesthetic. There was some years ago, it's funny, Merce Cunningham, I believe it was, when he passed away, one of the things that he stated was that he never wanted his dances performed again. He didn't want people monkeying with them. He didn't want the light cues changed. He didn't want the music changed. He didn't want the costumes changed. They were his works in his lifetime, and once he was gone, he wanted to maintain the integrity of his work, and that it would simply not be mucked with by anybody else. So I'm wondering if we move into this kind of holographic world, if we're starting to really infringe upon the rights of other artists and just kind of pretend it's okay?
Well, it depends on how you use the holograms, or the images. If you're recreating Roy Orbison, yes, you are infringing. But if these are new actors or new performers, and I'm talking about, people who don't exist, that are just there to replace actors, real actors, or monsters or whatever, or dragons, who knows? I think that's different because you're creating. That's a new creation of an art. It's sort of the same thing you do when you're, when you're a video game designer, when you think about it.
Yeah,
so,
it's like Uber Marionette all of a sudden.
And this is why, exactly, and this is why I think it's inevitable, because the zeitgeist is moving there.
I wonder if it takes the edge off everything. I mean, if I go to a movie, then that movie is going to be that movie no matter what I do. If the person in front of me is standing up screaming at the movie, nothing's going to change. But if I'm in the theater, that live performer is going to react to something happening in the auditorium. I'm wondering if I'm watching a hologram, if I'm not going to have the same skin in the game, the same emotional skin in the game as I do when I see an actor on stage.
Although I have to say, like going back to Star Wars, which, by the way, it was May 1977. I just looked it up. I was wrong.
Well played, Miss McMills.
Limited release in May, leading to expanded wide release. So I don't know what month that was. But anyways, like thinking about the Star Wars movies, the new ones with Leia in it, I loved watching her, even though Carrie Fisher has passed away. So I was like madly excited about Princess Leia being back in those movies. So I don't know. Like, I guess it technically was watching that sort of experience you're talking about.
So you're also suggesting then that Shirley Temple never has to grow old.
I don't know if I'm suggesting.
Well, I mean, I'm not. But all of a sudden, that does happen to people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You fall in love with the young John Wayne. And not so much in the 60 or 70-year-old John Wayne.
Right.
So you can keep that person in their prime and just keep creating new scripts and new adventures for 24-year-old John Wayne or 11-year-old Shirley Temple to be on for decades and decades and decades to come.
I love Carrie Fisher's dog. They need to make a hologram of her dog. Have you ever seen her dog?
No.
Oh, my God. I forgot the name of the dog. The dog is the cutest dog. He's got a tongue that sticks out all the time.
Oh, one of those.
Oh, no. This dog is amazing. She took this dog everywhere with her. She took this dog on the set. She'd take the dog on talk shows. She was always with this dog. Even when she did her one-woman show, she had this dog. This dog is, look it up. It's fantastic. I wish I could remember his name. It's a silly name. But, yeah. But all I can say to wrap this up is, help us, Obi-Wan. You're our only hope. Okay, so Steve has our last question of the day.
It is Kathy in Washington, and she writes, I am addicted to Home Depot and the electrical department. Have you found any great products in the LED world to use on stage? Kathy, oh my God, Kathy, are you married? I agree. I can go to Home Depot.
Married, by the way.
I can go to Home Depot for hours, and I go to the electrical department, and I start right there at the Klein tool display, and I just work my way down 2 aisles. I look at the light switches, then I look at the cable, and my wife goes, "Hold it, we're here to get a refrigerator. Why are you looking at light switches? I can't get enough of it." And after I finish in the 2 electrical aisles, I wrap up, pun intended, with the tape. I then walk across and look at all of the chandeliers and the LED products. Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm looking at light bulbs that I can tune to the Kelvin that I want. So yes, we just did an opera, and we were looking for a light to go under a balcony, and we incorporated some recessed fixtures from Home Depot. They were tunable. They were remote controlled. I could put those suckers in and go from 3,000 degrees to 9,000 degrees. I loved it. So yeah, give me some Home Depot. I'm a sad, lonely person.
You are.
I am also an addict. I love Home Depot and Lowe's. Like, my partner Jonathan and I actually have dates there. Like, we have a Home Depot date coming up, actually.
What's your final, or not your final, what is your favorite aisle?
The lighting aisle, for sure.
The lighting aisle?
Yeah, but I'll look at anything. I love bathrooms. I love garden. I love all that stuff. I love it, love it, love it. But I do not ever cross the line and bring it into the stage, I think. Unless it was like I need, it's a kitchen set and I need like something to go under the cabinet or something like that. But yeah, it's all just sort of hobbyist for me, I think.
I don't know. Their LED tape is awfully good.
It's awfully good.
It's worth spending some time there.
Yeah. I've used a lot of their LED products on stage, as a matter of fact, for usually props of some type of like, small sized light that I can use in a fixture of some type or in a prop that will throw a shadow. But don't expect it to dim very well. That's all I have to say. You'll never find a really good dimmable LED product there. But if you just need it to snap on and off, you're in business, baby. Well, those incredible sounds of the luminoids in the background tells us that once again you've spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Google Music, Live Design Online, and just about any other podcast broadcasting site out there. And check out our website on lighttalk.org, and be sure to follow us on our Facebook group page. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk fun.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
if you choose to litigate, the law firm of Fleck, Flock, Flare, and Glare and their paralegal Snoot will defend us. I am Snoot. Snoot will defend us until our retirement funds are depleted.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers and sister, coming to you from Long Beach, San Clemente, and the Republic of Texas.
And be sure to tune in next week when we discuss just about anything that comes up in the crazy world of lighting.
All that and a new sponsor.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
So we'll see you all next Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
Toodles.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Light